Hi everybody and welcome to my channel. Today I'm very excited because we're finally going to be reviewing the new Natasha Denona Bronze Palette. Now I'm going to show you guys some swatches as well as 3 looks I've created with the palette. And finally I'm going to let you guys know if the palette is worth the hype, but more importantly if it's worth the money. Now if you are excited about this kind of content, consider subscribing and hit the notification bell so that you're notified every time I upload. Now without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so let's go over the palette. This is the brand new Natasha Denona Bronze Palette. This is what it looks like in the inside. Now mine is a little bit dirty because I've been playing with it, but these are the colors. Now this palette comes with 15 brand new shades, so which means you can't find the shades on any of her other palettes. Normally Natasha Denona, when she makes a smaller palette, sometimes she likes to put in some of the colors that she features on her larger palettes, but for this one they're all brand new. It retails for $65. You could purchase it at the Natasha Denona website directly, or you can also get it either at Sephora.com and some of her other retailers. Now these colors are so beautiful. Like me personally, those are the type of colors that I like, not only for summer, also for like fall. They're very, very pretty. I'm very into coppers, golds, and those type of tones because I feel like they complement my skin a little bit better than the cooler tones. Another cool thing about this collection, they release a palette. They also release a cheek palette as well as some glosses. I didn't pick up the cheek palette because I own the tan palette, and I've been having this for a while, which is the reason why it looks the way it does. But this is what that one looks like. I find myself reaching for this one a lot, and looking at the colors and stuff for the newer one, I personally think it's pretty, but for me I think it's more of a highlighting palette, not necessarily has a lot of bronzers that I could benefit from, so that's the only reason why I didn't pick those up. Okay, so I'm gonna start with the swatches. So this is what the palette looks on natural sunlight. We're gonna start with True Copper, which is a warm copper, Suntan, which is a warm medium brown, Sundown, which is a medium light yellow brown, Deep Dive, which is a deep brown eggplant, Rhodium, which is a medium warm purple with silver reflex, Magma, which is a medium dark umber, High Degree, which is a red copper, Alloy, which is a bronze with gold reflex, Rich, which is a medium warm mustard, True Bronze, which is a foiled bronze, Glooming, which is a burnt umber with a light bronze reflex, Palladium, which is a warm pinkish taupe, Blish, which is a red pink with golden green reflex, Silk, which is foiled rich champagne, and finally Beach, which is a warm nude. And this is how the shadows look all together. And this is what they look like under natural sunlight. As you can see, they're very shimmery, they're very sparkly, they're just so pretty. Okay, so now that you guys saw the swatches, as you can see, Natasha Denona eyeshadows themselves, they're very nice and creamy and buttery, and it's a freaking pleasure to swatch them. I'm gonna leave you guys with the eye looks so that you guys can see how the palette performs. Okay, so for today's look, I'm gonna start with the fluffy brush, and I'm gonna go with Sundown. Now I'm gonna grab that color and then start blending it all over my crease. Now I actually enjoy Natasha Denona's eyeshadow formula because I find it to be very easy to work with. Now if you really don't have a lot of experience with eyeshadow and you are really starting, her eyeshadow formula, it's one of my favorites because as you saw, you place the color and it basically blends on its own. It's very, very nice and pleasant to work with. Now I'm just using this as a transition shade. I think for today's look I want to try more of this rhodium color, so I think I'm gonna do a little bit of a halo eye. Now if you start seeing me getting a little sweaty and shiny is because I had to turn off the AC unit because otherwise the noise is extremely loud. Now the reason why I decided to do my eyeshadow after my face makeup is because I wanted you to see that these eyeshadows really have no fallout, and that's one of the things that I really enjoy, especially with a high-end palette. I feel that for you to get more color payoff, the shadows have to be a little more powdery. But with Natasha Denona's, I don't know how she does it, because even though the shadows are powdery in the pan, as you can see, they're pretty powdery in the pan, but I never find that I have fallout under my eyes. So that's one of those things that I really enjoy. Okay, so to start to darken the outer and inner corner, I'm gonna go with the color Deep Dive. Now this color is one of the cream to powder formula that she introduces in the Metropolis palette, and I really enjoy that formula, because even though it's a cream to powder, it's super easy to blend. At first, the first time I touched them, I was a little concerned because sometimes with creams it's a little bit harder to blend, but with this one it's so easily and it blends so seamlessly. And let me just apply it instead of talking. So as you can see, I didn't have a lot of product in my brush, and it's so easy to get that color payoff, and it doesn't look muddy or anything like that. Now this color is actually very pretty. At first when you look at it, it looks very like dark brown, but when you apply it, it's more of a plumpish type of brown. It's very pretty, and it's very flattering in a lot of skin tones. I personally enjoy this type of colors because, you know, they're very different. I mean, overall the bronze palette has a lot of colors that I think suit mostly everyone. And as you could see, it was super easy to blend. It's not patchy whatsoever. It looks very beautiful. You need the tiniest bit unless you want a very intense color, but if you go little by little, you get the most beautiful blend, and it looks so pretty. I really enjoy it. Okay, so this is how it looks on both sides. I want to do a little bit darker, just a little bit. I always say that I'm not gonna do dramatic and end up doing very dramatic, but it's okay. I know the dramatic look is not for everyone, so feel free that if you're following along or you are recreating this look, feel free to not intensify as much as I do. For the darker color, I'm just focusing in the parts that are closer to my lash line, just to get that very nice smoky effect. Now with the smaller brush, something like this, I'm gonna go into this color right here. This one is Rhodium, and I'm gonna top that plum color with a little bit of this. So I'm just applying it just to add a little more dimension. For the center, I think I want to use something different, only so that I can have that very nice contrast. This color also has a little bit of a purplish type of color, so I'm just applying it right where I place that darker color. And the metallic shades on this palette are also so creamy and so pretty. So I don't know if you could see it, but it has kind of like a silverish purplish reflect. It looks so pretty, especially depending on how the sun hits it. Now to blend the crease a little bit more, I'm gonna use the same brush I used for the dark color Deep Dive. I didn't apply any more product. I'm just going back and forth just to kind of blend everything together and make everything look a little more seamlessly. Now with the very first brush that we use, I'm gonna go into Suntan, and I'm just grabbing a very tiny bit, and what I'm doing with this is just kind of like marry everything together and make it a little bit more dark, just to give it a little more dimension to the eye look. Okay, so now for the inner part, I want to go with the color Silk. And that one, you can apply them with a brush, you can apply them dry, you can apply them wet, but I want to go with my finger. So I'm just gonna look down, and then I'm gonna start pressing it just in the center, going up a little. And I'm just going back with that brush that I applied that other color to try to blend it a little. I'm gonna go back and apply a little bit more. With a small brush like this, I'm gonna take a little bit of alloy along with a little bit of true copper. I'm gonna mix those two together, and then I'm just gonna apply this to the very top of where we place that halo, just to give it a little more dimension. Now when you have your eye open, you will be able to see these colors right here, and they just look so pretty. You can also do a cut crease and use concealer. I didn't want to do that today because I really wanted you guys to see how the shadows perform. For me personally, I want to see how the shadows perform on their own, and then later on, well, obviously I know that when I apply concealer and whatnot, I mean, they look a little bit better, but that's just with every shadow, you know. So I just wanted you to see what the shadows look like. Now I'm gonna just go back with the smaller brush and apply a little bit of that color Deep Dive, and I'm just gonna focus it in the outer corner as well as the inner corner. And now I'm just gonna add a little bit of eyeliner and just my lashes, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I applied my eyelashes, a little bit of eyeliner, and I also did my lips, and this is what the makeup looks like. Now let's go over the palette itself. I personally really enjoy the palette. Now if you are the type of person that enjoys warm tones, that enjoys coppers, this palette would definitely be for you. I think that this palette is designed beautifully. I enjoy the selection of colors. I enjoy how she added many different tones of bronze, because sometimes, especially during the summertime, you see all these brands coming out with a lot of bronze tones, but at the end they all kind of have the same undertone. I found fascinating that she came out with the palette just with bronze tones, because this means that it has a lot of different undertones, which would cater for a lot more people. So no matter what your skin tone is, I think this palette, it would be flattering on just anyone. Another thing that I really enjoy from this palette is the fact that she include many different finishes on the palette. So we have her classic powder matte shades. We also have the cream to powder, which is this shade right here, and like I told you guys before, it's one of my favorite formulas from Natasha Denona herself. If she was to come up with a palette just with that formula, I would definitely buy it. Now, the way that the palette is designed is that you can either use it horizontally, so you can go like that. You can also go vertically, and you can create eye looks like that, or you can go in quads. So it makes it very easy to use, because no matter how you look at it, you can create a look. Like for example, on this quad right here, you could create a look, or if you want to go lighter, you can go with the quad up here. Same thing on this side. If you wanted to create a look, you could go like that, or you can even go vertically, so you can start with this color and then move your way up, or the other way around. So I think that the way that the shadows are placed and the way that she designed it, it's pretty genius, because it makes it a lot easier for just a regular person to use it. Like, you don't really have to think about it. And not only the placement of the shadows makes it very easy for just anyone to use it, but also the quality of the shadows themselves. They are very buttery, they're very easy to blend. If you don't own any of Natasha Denona's palettes, I think something like this would be perfect for you to try it. And I think for the price, you're getting a lot of eyeshadows, and the formula, like I said, it's really good. If you've never tried Natasha Denona's palette, I would recommend going for something like this. Or if you don't want to, spend $65 on the palette, you can also get the little ones. I believe those are $25 or $28. Those are also really, really good. Now, if you're a person that likes very warm tones, that, you know, coppers, golds, and stuff like that, you probably already own something like this. For me personally, I don't think that if you're looking for a palette that has a lot of different colors to create a lot of different Instagram looks, I don't think this palette is for you. I think this palette is more geared to those of us who from day to day just like to apply a wash of color and have some very nice dimension with the glitters. Now, a lot of people have compared this palette with her other ones, so let's do that. So comparing it to the Sunrise palette, this is what they look like side by side. Now the Sunrise palette, it was the first palette that she came out that it was this size and this price point. Now as far as the colors go, well, you kind of see that this color right here and this one right here, they're kind of similar, just this one it's a little more cool tone, a little bit darker, and the other one is a little more purpley, a little lighter. And then on the Sunrise palette, you obviously have a little more vibrant colors, a little bit lighter colors, but nonetheless they're both beautiful. Now comparing it to the Metropolis palette, there are a lot of shades that are similar. They're not completely the same. Now in the Bronze palette, you have more of that warm coppery brown, whereas in the Metropolis palette, the colors are a little more golden or greenish undertone. There are a few shades, like for example this one's right here, that you could probably, you know, find something similar on this one. So if you already own the Metropolis, I'm not 100% sure that you would want to spend the money on this one, only because they are shades that are similar. They're not the same, but they're similar. And that's just comparing it to Natasha Denona's palette, hers, you know, themselves. Another palette that it's kind of similar, you could kind of find some similarities, the Anastasia Soft Glam. Now the Soft Glam has more of that reddish copperish tones, but it doesn't have as many foil browns as this one. The Anastasia obviously does come with a black and it has more of a brown, but it has some colors that are kind of similar. So that's another one that if you already own this one, you probably won't want to spend the money on the Natasha Denona palette. And then finally, the colors are not exactly the same, but they are a little bit similar. This one is by Huda Beauty. This is the Topaz Obsession, and this is what it looks like. Now this one obviously has more of that orangey undertone, whereas the Natasha Denona, like I said, is more coppery. But like if you have something like this, you probably have similar colors on your collection. Now if you really don't want to spend the money on this one, but you're looking for a dupe, this is from Wet n Wild. This one retails for like around $5.99, $6.99, and it's actually very similar. They have a lot of the similar tones, and they have a lot of the similar undertones, so you could kind of get somewhat the same looks with that one as with the Natasha Denona palette. The only cons that I could see on this palette, it would be that I would have added a more light shade, because the only thing that you cannot find in this palette is a highlighting shade, whether it's a matte one or a metallic or a chrome one. That's the only thing that I see that is negative about this palette. I like the variety of colors and I like everything that she added, but if I could, I think I would have added just a lighter shade, just so that it could, you know, you could have a full look, because that's the only thing. I mean, obviously you can highlight with silk, but for some skin tones that color is going to be too dark. So that's my only but this palette. But other than that, I really enjoy, like I said, this is one of her smaller palettes. Her regular palettes normally retail for $125 or $129. So having the option to buy something a lot smaller, you know, don't get me wrong, it's still expensive, but in my opinion, it's a little more accessible than many of her other eyeshadow palettes. I personally think that if you are a type of person that is looking for an everyday palette and, you know, something that you really don't have to think about, I think this is pretty straightforward. Let me know in the comments if you guys will be picking this up, if it's gonna be a pass for you, if there's anything, any questions, anything that you guys I might have not answered in this video. Leave it in the comments down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more of these videos, and I'll see you guys on the next one.